My annual report this year is going to be a video, as it was last year. It starts with the strums of a ukulele played by our choir member, Ryan Church. Listen.
Bind us together, Lord, bind us together with cords that cannot be broken. Bind us together, Lord, bind us together, Lord, bind us together in love.
Bind us together in love. Jesus used somewhat different words in the prayer that Cynthia read for us, but it has the same meaning. Oh God, please keep my flock together as one after I'm gone from this world. Knit them as closely to each other as you and I have been, God. The way we've been intertwined while I have been in this world and you have been invisible but always present within me. Bind my beloveds together the same way, as close as a vine to its leaves, as close as one body to all its parts. The whole body pained when the leg breaks. The whole body revived when the body sleeps. Its breath relaxed, its limbs loosened, its muscles mending. Make my people, O God, one body with each other and with us, God. And then Jesus said, and God, protect them out in the world. I wonder, what did Jesus mean? What was Jesus praying for in your life, hoping for you, in the life of this church? Bind them together, Lord, bind them together in love. I offer 3 ideas for your consideration. First, about that protection that Jesus thinks we need out in the world. Jesus knew that what he stood for was dangerous. No one really wants to hear about loving enemies or forgiving wrongdoers or sharing what we have. We don't want to hear it if you have some enemies or you have been wronged or you have something that you could share. Jesus is taught critique leaders and the people, and who likes criticism? Nobody I know. And darn it, what Jesus said hit home with us all. Part of the human condition is often feeling that we're not enough. Who we are isn't enough, or we're deficient somehow. We're told that a lot. Or maybe we think we haven't gotten enough. It's not fair. Others have more. Either way, we compare ourselves and may seem to fall short. Grow competitive with those who have more, who are more, and soon we put people into 2 camps, us and then them. But when we are in 2 camps, it's hard to unite as one, to see every single human as extremely important and valuable. Of course, Jesus might have been praying to protect us from the harm that can come when we speak truth. Speaking truth is costly. But I also think Jesus prayed that we be protected from slipping just a little too easily into that human way of thinking so prevalent in the world, starting with not enough, comparing, competition, 2 camps. I wasn't even aware of how I'd fallen recently into that mindset, just slid right in. During the recent debates about sharing vaccines with other parts of the world, I sort of swatted the issue out of my mind, at least until I and mine were fully vaccinated. Only now that the US is fully covered, it seems, have I honestly let rise into my consciousness this thought: how would Jesus have framed the question of worldwide vaccine distribution? He'd ask, who has the greatest need, might be most likely to die? Start with them. Now, arguably, within the US, we did laudably take that path. We put the elders first and those immune compromised first and healthcare workers exposed daily first. But we did that only after we had first divided the world into 2 camps, us Americans and all them others. We didn't see as one, myself and all other of God's children in the world. I hadn't even seen all Americans as one, hadn't even acknowledged that Americans who live in more crowded conditions than I should get the vaccine before I because they need it more. I had lived by the world's mindset that money rules. Americans have the most money and bought the vaccine, so Americans should get the vaccine first, fearing that there might not be enough for me. I subscribed to America first. Jesus prayed that his flock would be in the world, but not of it, that we'd be protected from sliding so mindlessly into the world's values rather than God's. What a good prayer. So needed. Second, when Jesus prayed that we be one, his was not the stereotypical approach that, we'll treat all people exactly the same. No, he would put the neediest first. But he also wasn't requiring us all to agree on every question, to fall into some lockstep with one acceptable view. And that's good, because here at King's Chapel, I don't think that would fly. We highly value our independence. The right of the church to its path, separate from denominational dictates, and the right of each individual to our freedom of pulpit and pew. In the pulpit, I'm free to preach what I believe, and in the pews, you are free to think as you believe. Being one does not mean all agreeing. The unity which Jesus prayed for was deeper. It was always about treating one another as a highly valued child of God, even if totally out to lunch on a particular vote. Jesus knew we needed to learn from each other, to honor each other, and that's especially true when we disagree. Have you noticed that at work? God's rather quirky sense of humor, putting us in the same congregation with some others who might just have that perfect gift of pushing your buttons. Have you ever noticed that occasional irritating church member who turns out to have something important to stretch you? God must get such a chuckle out of that. I know it's been true for me. Two of our members who have clashed most often with me on substantive issues are people I love deeply, and they me, I think. And what has led to binding us together were difficult times. They were deaths that we walked through together. I know that sometimes death can cause unimportant differences to become ridiculously acute. Emotions around death turn squabbles over minor points into family-splitting conflicts, and that is tragic. But more often, I think the opposite is true. When death draws close, all the stark differences in politics and lifestyle melt away, insignificant when compared to a shared broken heart, a shared grace as the funeral is held and the body buried. Experiences like that, shared in a community of church, are what I think is at the heart of Jesus' prayer, that we may be one. Even among us, this idiosyncratic and historic and traditional King's Chapel, Jesus prays that we remember above all else what we share as one, our hope for the best for this place, even when we disagree on the means. In our covenant, we say that we unite in the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus Christ, for the worship of God and service of all. Jesus prays that we may be one in the love of truth, one in the spirit of Jesus Christ, one in the worship of God, one in our commitment to serving all. One not in agreeing how to love God and others, but one in agreement that we are to love God and all others. Oh, that they may be one. My third point, why bother with this unity, especially when it doesn't always come easily? Can't we just all do our own thing separately? Author Brian McLaren wrote about leaving the role of minister and becoming a member of a congregation. He wondered if he would want to go to church at all. It'd be easy to skip since no one was watching. What part of church would he miss? What could he live without? His answer, quote, "What I needed as a parishioner was not what I had focused on as a minister. It wasn't clever sermons or a certain style of music. I didn't need a church that appeared cool or contemporary or big or small. Instead, I wanted and needed a church that would help me live a life of love with as little distraction as possible. I needed sustenance, encouragement, and help in loving God, loving myself, loving my wife, loving my kids and grandkids and extended family, loving my neighbors, especially people I might struggle to love, and loving the earth. Without a community and regular gatherings to help me, I could too easily drift off, stagnate or sour. I could lose my way easily." End quote. Apparently, God thought the prophet Muhammad needed a community too. According to the poet Rumi in a little poem that Amanda Pickett shared this week, God commanded in a revelation, "O prophet, stay in the company of lovers," meaning stay patiently by the side of those who call their sustainer morning and evening, seeking God's face. Why stay in this company? Though the whole world is warmed by your fire, even fire is smothered by ashes. Even as dedicated as the spiritual master Muhammad was, he was urged to stay patiently by the side of others seeking God's face, because the world's ashes can smother out the love we're meant for. I've said it this way in the past: we come to church to be reminded again, week by week, God loves you. God lives in you. And God flowing through you lets you love others better. Our own willpower isn't enough, not over the long haul. So we come to church to recharge, to practice being the people who feel less fear, who give more grace. We come to reconnect with the vine, the source of life, our greatest friend, our trustworthy companion for our journey. Bind us together, Lord. Bind us together, Lord. Bind us together in love. May it be so.